I'm just kind of ready for the next chapter and a new challenge in my life, but I think the reason I decided to announce it when I did was just to have that closure.
The basketball world is absolutely stunned right now. Just 2 minutes ago, explosive new details emerged about what's really happening behind closed doors between WNBA superstar Caitlin Clark and her coach Stephanie White. And folks, what we're hearing is not good. The golden girl of women's basketball, known for carefully choosing every single word in interviews, has finally cracked. She's revealed a massive red flag about her relationship with White that has sent shockwaves through the Indiana Fever organization and left fans questioning everything they thought they knew about this so-called dream partnership. Caitlin Clark has always been the master of media control. This is a woman who understands that every syllable she speaks gets dissected by millions of fans and analysts. She's built her entire public persona on being diplomatic, composed, and never giving the media ammunition to create controversy. So when someone this calculated suddenly drops their guard and exposes cracks in what everyone believed was a perfect coaching relationship, you know something serious is brewing beneath the surface. The timing couldn't be more shocking. Clark recently announced she's ready for the next chapter in her life, seeking closure on what has been a turbulent period. But nobody expected that closure to come in the form of exposing deep-seated issues with the woman everyone thought was her basketball savior. This isn't just any coach we're talking about. This is Stephanie White, a legend of the game, someone Clark herself once called a trailblazer. The same person she publicly defended and praised before they ever worked together. To understand just how devastating this revelation is, we need to rewind and look at Clark's incredible journey to stardom. This woman didn't have anything handed to her on a silver platter. She clawed her way to the top through pure determina, and relentless work ethic. Standing at nearly 6'4", with an unmatched hunger for success, Clark dominated college basketball like few players ever have. She became the most coveted young female player in the entire country, securing massive deals while keeping her head high through every challenge thrown her way. Throughout this meteoric rise, Clark built an incredible support system. Her family stood by her side through every triumph and setback. Basketball legends recognized her talent and took her under their wing. But one person stood out from the very beginning as someone special in Clark's eyes. Stephanie White wasn't just another coach or mentor. She was a towering figure in women's basketball, someone who had walked the exact same path from college dominance to professional excellence. White's credentials were absolutely impeccable. As a player, she excelled as both a shooting guard and forward, understanding the game from multiple perspectives. More importantly, she had lived through the exact same transition that Clark was about to face. White knew firsthand how brutal the jump from college basketball to the WNBA could be. She understood what it meant to go from dominating younger players to competing against seasoned veterans with 5 or more years of professional experience. But here's where the story takes its first dark turn. When Clark made the leap to professional basketball, she experienced what she later described as a rude awakening. The physical demands were unlike anything she had ever encountered. The competition level was suffocating. Suddenly, her college dominance meant nothing. She was just another rookie trying to survive in a league filled with women who had been perfecting their craft at the highest level for years. This is exactly when Stephanie White entered the picture. And initially, it seemed like perfect timing. In November 2024, the Indiana Fever made a shocking decision that would change everything. They fired Christie Sides, a coach who had actually posted some impressive statistics, and seemed to be doing solid work with the team. But management had bigger dreams. They wanted someone with championship pedigree, someone who could take their young stars and transform them into WNBA title contenders. Enter Stephanie White, the woman who had been part of the coaching staff that won the WNBA championship in 2012. Management believed her experience and track record made her the perfect leader for a team built around rookies like Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. They envisioned White molding these young talents into the foundation of a championship dynasty. At first, everything seemed absolutely perfect between Clark and White. Even before they worked together, Clark was singing White's praises publicly. She called her a trailblazer and gushed about her basketball IQ. Clark had been following White's work with the Connecticut Sun and was genuinely excited about the possibility of learning from someone she considered a genius of the game. This wasn't fake media politeness. Clark seemed genuinely thrilled about the opportunity to work with her basketball hero. The mutual admiration was obvious from both sides. When Clark struggled in her first few professional games, Facing brutal criticism from fans and media who expected immediate perfection, White stepped up as her defender. She told critics to calm down, reminding everyone that Clark was just 2 games into her professional career. White praised Clark as a student of the game who would undoubtedly figure things out with time and patience. But then reality set in, and this is where everything started going wrong. There's an old saying about never meeting your heroes, and unfortunately, Clark discovered just how painful that lesson can be. While White was undeniably brilliant and brought a wealth of knowledge to their partnership, she also brought something Clark wasn't prepared for. White was no pusho. Veer. She didn't coddle players or seek their approval. She demanded respect through results, not friendship. Their first training sessions together revealed both the potential and the problems in their relationship. Clark could immediately recognize White's genius-level understanding of basketball. White knew how to unlock Clark's potential, giving her more freedom to take shots and create assists. She understood how to blend Clark's flashy playmaking with the fundamental need to score points and win games. Under White's guidance, Clark did achieve some remarkable success. She won Rookie of the Year, proving that the partnership could produce results. But White was also brutally honest about Clark's weaknesses. Unlike her previous coach, White constantly reminded Clark of areas where she needed improvement. The praise came with conditions and criticism attached. White's coaching philosophy was intense and unforgiving. There were no days off. She focused obsessively on helping Clark adapt to her changing body as she continued growing and filling out her frame. She worked on Clark's ball handling, her center of gravity, her ability to maintain control despite her height. The training was relentless and demanding. But here's where the story takes a truly concerning turn. On June 15, 2025, Clark suffered a devastating groin injury that would change everything about their relationship. Clark's frustration was obvious when she posted about her disappointment on social media. But what emerged later was far more troubling. Sources close to the situation began suggesting that Clark's injury wasn't just bad luck. They believed she had been pushed beyond her physical limits. The timing was suspicious and heartbreaking. Clark had rarely been injured during her time with her previous coach, Christie Sides. Under Sides, she had maintained her health while still performing at an elite level. But under White's intense training regimen, Clark's body broke down. The woman who prided herself on her durability and mental toughness was suddenly sidelined by an injury that many believed was entirely preventable. As Clark sat on the bench watching her team struggle, she began noticing things about White that deeply disturbed her. She watched how White reacted to every mistake, every turnover, every missed shot. White's intensity, which had once seemed inspiring, now felt overwhelming and potentially destructive. The pressure was constant and unrelenting. The breaking point came during what should have been a positive moment. When White received a technical foul during a game, Clark initially high-fived her coach, seemingly supportive of the passionate display. But privately, Clark was processing everything she had observed about White's coaching methods and their impact on both individual players and team chemistry. During her injury recovery, Clark made a decision that would shock the basketball world. She agreed to appear on Sue Bird's podcast, and what she revealed there sent tremors through the entire WNBA community. Clark talked about how challenging it had been to play 4 games and then be forced to sit out due to injury. Her words were carefully chosen, but the subtext was impossible to ignore. Clark revealed something that ESPN analyst Rachel Dita would later call a massive red flag. Clark explained how she had committed a couple of turnovers during a game and was immediately benched by White. When she returned to the game, she found herself playing tentatively, afraid to make the risky passes that had always been her signature because she feared being pulled from the game again. This revelation was devastating because it exposed a fundamental flaw in White's coaching philosophy. Instead of building Clark's confidence and encouraging her natural playmaking instincts, White's approach was making Clark second-guess herself. The fearless player who had dominated college basketball was becoming timid and hesitant under White's system. The numbers told an equally troubling story. Under Christie Sides, the Indiana Fever had managed a balanced 20-20 record, despite being considered a struggling franchise. Under White, despite having higher expectations and calling it a potential dream season, the team actually performed worse with a 21-19 record, meaning 21 losses and only 19 wins. Clark had missed significant time due to her injury, but the team's overall performance had declined under White's leadership. What made this situation even more painful was that Clark had expected different treatment during her injury recovery. She hoped White might be more understanding and supportive while she worked to return to full health. Instead, White continued her demanding approach, seemingly unwilling to adjust her methods even when dealing with an injured star player. The media explosion that followed Clark's podcast appearance revealed just how deep the problems ran. ESPN analysts began questioning White's tactical decisions, particularly her choice to have other players handle responsibilities that should have belonged to Clark. The chemistry and flow that had made Clark so effective were being disrupted by coaching decisions that prioritized White's system over Clark's natural talents. What we're witnessing now is the complete breakdown of what everyone believed was a perfect partnership. Clark's revelation about feeling afraid to make risky passes because of White's tendency to bench players for mistakes exposes a coaching philosophy that may be fundamentally incompatible with developing young talent. The woman who was supposed to unlock Clark's potential may actually be limiting it through fear and intimidation. The basketball world is now left wondering whether Clark was deliberately sending a message through her carefully worded podcast comments, or if the media has created controversy where none was intended. But given Clark's history of diplomatic responses and careful word choice, her willingness to reveal these concerns suggests the problems are far more serious than anyone initially realized. The timing of these revelations, coming just as Clark announced her readiness for a new chapter, raises questions about whether this partnership can survive. When a player of Clark's caliber begins expressing doubts about her coach's methods, especially regarding something as fundamental as playing with confidence and instinct, it signals potential franchise-altering decisions ahead. The Indiana Fever now faces an impossible choice between their championship-winning coach and their generational superstar player, and the basketball world is holding its breath to see how this explosive situation unfolds.